Hey Algebra fans, in this video we are going to be learning how to multiply polynomials together. Now you may see this FOIL method thing up here and this looks pretty confusing. Don't worry too much about that right away. The key thing about this lesson that you need to understand is we are going to be multiplying terms that have, we're going to be multiplying expressions that have more than one term by expressions that have more than one term. And that's going to be a little bit complicated. What we're going to find out is that the distributive property rules all here. And when we distribute, we not only distribute one thing across a bunch of terms in parentheses, what we're going to end up doing is distributing everything to everything. That's what we're going to be learning about in this lesson. We multiply polynomials. Every single term in each polynomial has to shake every other term's hand so that each term gets multiplied by every other term. Okay, and that's what the FOIL method, we're going to learn about this. That's what this is going to be all about, just making sure that every term gets multiplied by every term, because that's what has to happen. All right, let's get started. We're going to start with practice problems right away. And these first two problems are actually quite simple. We're going to be multiplying a monomial, 3x, by a polynomial. Okay, so this is in this case a trinomial, x squared plus 3x minus 7. We're going to do the same thing in letter B, and we're just going to remember how it works to multiply a monomial by a polynomial. So let's get started with that. In letter A, we're going to be doing 3x times x squared plus 3x minus 7. So let's get started with that. The first thing we're going to be doing is 3x times x squared. So I multiplied the number outside the parentheses by the first term. 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. 3x times 3x, let's see, first of all, I need to make sure that I bring across the plus sign in between. So this would be plus, and then 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Bring along the minus sign here. 3x times 7 is 21x. And that is my polynomial. Let's double check our answer. Yes, we got it right. All right, moving on to the next one. Now, the difference between this one and the first one is I have a negative outside, negative 4x. I have to make sure that the entire expression on the outside gets multiplied by each of the expressions on the inside. In other words, negative 4x needs to be multiplied by x squared, negative 4x times 2x, and negative 4x times minus 3. All right, let's do that. Negative 4x times x squared is simply going to be negative 4x cubed. Keep in mind, I'm just adding my exponents like I always do when I multiply. I did also keep in mind I carried along the negative because it was a negative times a positive. I'm going to do plus negative 4x times 2x squared. I'm going to keep the plus side in between, but when I add, I'm going to be adding negative 8x squared. So it'll be plus negative 8x squared. When I add a negative, it's the same thing as subtracting. So I'm just going to write minus 8x squared. Remember, that would be the same as plus negative 8x squared. And then times the last term, minus 4x times 3. So minus negative 12x minus a negative is going to be plus. So it's going to be plus 12x. Okay. Notice I was doing some careful negative management there. I have to manage those minus signs to make sure I end up with the right signs on all of my terms. And I thought it through very carefully. Let's see if I got it right. Yes, there we go. Now, I'm going to use the distributive property to find the products when we have binomials being multiplied by each other. There's two terms in each of these expressions. How in the world does this work? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply this first term, the x times x, x times 3, 4 times x, 4 times 3. I'm going to multiply this times both terms in the second, this times both terms in the second. And as the signs in between everything needs a plus or a minus sign in between, we're going to see. And I'm just going to use the sign for whether the number was positive or negative. All right, so let's see how C works out for us using the distributive property. Letter C. First, I'm going to do x times x. X times x is x squared. That's going to be my first term. All right, next I'm going to do x times 4. Noticing it's positive, that's going to be plus 4x. Oh, sorry. X times 3, I jumped down to e. X times 3 is going to be 3x. All right, 4 times x is going to be plus 4x, again, positive. And then 4 times 3 is plus 12 at the end. And can I simplify this at all? Well, I noticed that I have 3x plus 4x in here. I can add those together because the variables are exactly the same. That becomes 7x. This is my final expression. Let's see if we got it right. There we are. Next, x minus 5 times x minus 2. Ooh, we're going to add some negatives in here. I can't stress enough when we're dealing with binomials being multiplied by each other, we got to keep negatives very, very, very closely in mind. All right, so letter D. The first thing I'm going to start with is x squared. X times x. Now, x times negative 2 is going to be minus 2x. Notice I multiplied this x in front by the x in the second one, x in front by the minus 2 here. So minus 2x. Now I'm going to multiply this 5, but it's not just 5, it's minus 5. So I'm going to multiply a negative 5 times x. That's going to become minus 5x. And then why is it plus? You see my last term is going to be plus. It's because it's negative 5 times negative 2. It's going to become positive. So plus 10. Can I simplify? Minus 2x minus 5x is going to become minus 7x. And that is the result of this one. Let's just double check. Yes. Moving on. Letter E. All right. So for letter E, we did x plus 6 times x plus 4. Now, just like before, I had some problems jumping down. I think when I when I wrote this page, I might have accidentally kind of jumped between C and E and D and F. So let's just see if we've got this set up right, and we'll catch any mistakes that are made. So the first thing we'll do is multiply x times x. That's going to be x squared. All right. Now I'm going to use the FOIL method for this. So I'm going to do this is the FOIL method up here. The FOIL method is actually exactly what I used when I did the distributive property, except I'm going to simplify it by just saying I'm going to do the first terms, the outer terms, the inner terms, the last terms. Before when I did this, I was walking myself through the rationale of using the distributive property. This is just a mechanical way to do it. If you could remember to do first, outer, inner, last, it makes sure that each of your terms shakes hands with every other term and you have all of your terms included in here. So my first terms, x times x is x squared. So x times x is x squared. Outer terms is x times 4. So it's going to be plus 4x. Now I noticed that I accidentally went back up here and did this one. I'm going to change it to plus 4x. All right. My inner terms is 6 times x. So it's going to be plus 6x, and I probably got that one wrong too. Let's just double check. So it should be plus 6x. And then lastly is 6 times 4. So that's going to be plus 24. And let me just make that correction there. So again, I did first x times x, outer 4 times x, inner 6 times x, and last 6 times 4. That's the FOIL method. I didn't think through it like I would think through normal distributive property, but really I was just doing the steps of the normal distributive property using the FOIL acronym. All right, then I need to ask myself, can I simplify by adding anything together? Yes, I can. I also need to fix the mistakes in this. So this is plus 24. And then 4x plus 6x is 10x. All right, letter F. For letter F, we do x minus 8 times x minus 1. This one also, I did the wrong one when I was setting this up, so let's fix it. I'm going to start with x times x, which is x squared. Okay, now things are going to get a little bit different. Outer, x times negative 1 is going to be minus x. negative 8 times x is going to be minus 8x. So I need to make sure my next term is minus 8x. Hey, I had that one. And then negative 8 times negative 1 is going to be plus 8. Okay, so x squared minus x minus 8x plus 8. I can combine this minus x and minus 8. That becomes minus 9x. And that is that trinomial. Let's just make sure I've got these two right. So x squared plus 10x plus 24 and x squared minus 9x plus 8.